I'm going to do my best to help as many people as possible feel supported in their writing careers and to help the next generation come through. To me, this is an immense privilege and an honor, and it's not something that I take lightly and that I really will keep striving to earn. Okay, so I started out as an actor, and I think this happens to quite a lot of people in theatre, that you get, if you're very enthusiastic about drama at school, that's the avenue you get put down. I started as an actor and it was really wonderful, I had a really great time, but it was slightly the wrong job for me. I kept telling everybody else what to do, thinking about things. So I went to work at the Watermill, which is a theatre in Newbury, and I had a really amazing time there. I was working with youth theatre, doing lots of programmes for young people, and whilst I was there, we couldn't find the right play for my group of young people to do sort of the kind of things that they wanted to do. So I was set this amazing challenge by my two colleagues there, Aid Morris and Hedda Beebe, who basically made me become a writer by saying, here's a deadline, could you send us a scene? And so that was how I started. I started out writing for young people. And then it took off from there, and I started to get asked to make other plays, and now I get to call myself a playwright. For me, the major point in my career was when I started making work for young people. And so making work with and for young people is a major aspect of what I do and what I have always done. I just love it. I love working with teenagers. I love writing for them, writing with them, directing. And I'd been doing that for a long time at the Watermill in Newbury, making work. And making theatre in general a place where everybody feels welcome, where everyone has a place and a voice and things to say, and to make theatre take away any sense of hierarchy, and to really genuinely give everybody a really good time. So that was the first thing I started doing. And then as I was writing more and more, I started to get asked to write other plays. One of the things that I mostly get commissioned to do is to write historical plays. An amazing company in Reading called Rabble took me on and have commissioned me to write a series of history plays about Reading, which has been just incredible and just such a dream to tell these old, mostly medieval stories about the things that people got up to in Reading that were extraordinary and sort of Game of Thrones but real. And so that's been a huge part of me becoming a writer, is just being commissioned to write these stories that don't get told. I think what I'm able to bring as well is slightly different angles to the way that historical plays have been told in the past. I guess, that's what you're trying to find as a writer. How do I do this? How do I tell this story? And what can I bring to it? So that's been a major part of things for me. I wrote a historical play called The Ballad of Maria Martin for a company in Ipswich, Eastern Angles, and that's been really wonderful. It's toured a few times and it gets done a lot. It gets done a lot by teenage girls in America and by young companies all over the world, and I just absolutely love seeing what they do with it. I recently went to Poland to see a Polish language production, and that's just been amazing to sort of watch something that I wrote in my spare room being taken all over the world. So I think no matter how long you've been a writer or working in theatre, and I've had almost every job in theatre, no matter how long you've been doing it, it's very hard to apply somewhere like the Royal Court and to feel like you have a shot, to not feel like, well, this is a massive stab in the dark. And I did feel like that, and I might not have even applied had it not been for something I saw on Instagram, which was David Byrne talking with Anisha about how the sorts of person that might be right to go for this job. And in that, he mentioned somebody with a youth theatre background. And that made me think, oh, well, maybe there are more routes into a job than one. And maybe I can just be proud of what I've done and give it a go. So I'm still astonished that I'm here. I can't believe it, but I won't take it for granted. I'm going to do my best to help as many people as possible feel supported in their writing careers and to help the next generation come through. I did get acting work, not loads, but I did get work. I think what I found was I would really, really love it, really passionately love the rehearsal process. And then I was okay. I don't think I was particularly amazing, but I was okay. But then I sort of would get worse and worse as the run went on. So I was only in a couple of quite long runs, and I would get terrible and forget all the lines by show 64. And I think I loved it. I loved theatre, and it's incredibly useful to have been an actor when you are writing plays. But it was slightly the wrong career for me. And making that realization was sort of like releasing a valve. It was so helpful. I think probably to most playwrights, working at the Royal Court feels like it always might be a bit of an impossible dream. It certainly felt like that to me. It means a lot to be here. It means that I know I don't feel like just a random person writing in my garden in a shed. It's an incredible privilege, an honor, and to do something really meaningful with it. I mean, do you ever feel like you've become a playwright? Like, it's one of those things that just feels so nebulous, and like it might never be real. Even if you've managed to write a play, it's been on and it's been produced and it's maybe been published, and that's really cool, and people are performing it. You still think like, well, my next one might be so rubbish. Who knows what that's going to be? I think for me, I've been very lucky in my career that I have mostly worked to commission, which means getting a very specific brief, but I like a brief. And so being told, write this for us and we will probably put it on. There's something very galvanizing about that makes you get on and do it. And I like that. I like a deadline is really helpful as a writer, and a deadline and a goal and somewhere to imagine it being on is really helpful. But my hardest times have been when I am just trying to write an idea I have and I don't quite know what that's for. That's very, very difficult for me to do that. Because I can sort of get stuck in thinking, well, it's never going to be good enough. So I'm really lucky that my family are incredibly supportive. I'm here right now doing this filming because my husband is collecting our daughter from school. And I think that that's one of the things that people forget is like when there are so many barriers to becoming a playwright, to getting on and doing your job, and they aren't necessarily the ones that everybody sees. So I'm very, very lucky. It took me so long to realize that I was a writer. I didn't start writing until I was in my 30s, and that's despite being absolutely obsessed with plays and reading them and going to see them all the time. I think about that a lot. Why did it take me so long? And I think a major reason was when I was at university, I did an English literature degree. I read one play by a woman in 3 years. And I think that you subliminally get the message that writing plays isn't something people like me do, that actually it's probably something that people do when they're dead, and that it's just not something that is for everybody. I want to change that. I really want young people to consider it as a career. I think it should be part of every school's curriculum, along with obviously sign language and climate change and cookery. I think that writing plays should be something every young person considers. So that's going to be a big part of my remit. I really want to make every young person in the country feel like they might have a play in them. It might be something that is worth a shot, and then I want them to send it to us here at the Royal Court. Beth, announcement, roll 1, scene 1, take 1.
Feel good.